What's going on, guys, and welcome back to my AEW Collision audio review for September 2nd, 2023. I am Graham Jason Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your weekend so far. Been a busy weekend, obviously, from a wrestling standpoint. We had Collision last night, Payback at the same time. Ended up watching Collision a little bit earlier on this morning. I thought the show was good. We'll get into it. Of course, overshadowing all of that, the termination of CM Punk from AEW, and I will address it here because Tony Khan did address it, not in front of only the live crowd before the show went live on TNT last night, but also on the show itself in a pre-tape promo. Now, I want to say my full thoughts on this because I have a lot to say about the situation, and I've discussed it a lot already on #AskGSM, WrestleRant Radio, probably here on the fucking reviews as well in the last couple of months, the whole CM Punk drama and situation. It culminated last night with Tony Khan announcing via social media first, via the official AEW account on Twitter, through a press release, that they were terminating the contract of CM Punk. So they made it official. Like I said, a lot to say about the situation, and I'll break it down further. Probably, I'll have to wait until WrestleRant Radio on Thursday, which would probably be best anyway, after the dust settles a little bit. It's still fresh. CM Punk is expected, per Sports Illustrated, to make a response at some point. He may not, but it seems like he will. There might be a lawsuit coming out of this. I don't think it'll get to that point, but it's very possible, I guess, based on what other people are saying. I'll have a lot more to say about the situation a little bit later on in the week, but I will address it here to start out the Collision review. Tony Khan did a pre-tape promo here, pretty much echoing what he said in the press release and what he said in front of the Chicago crowd, which was a lot worse. And honestly, I've seen a lot of people say they should have held off on the firing of Punk until after Collision, until before All Out, after All Out, next weekend, whatever. Of everything that you can say about the situation, and Tony Khan is to blame for it as well. CM Punk is the common denominator in a lot of these situations, and the drama and the backstage bullshit. I agree on that, and that's coming from a massive Punk fan who has largely enjoyed Collision because of Punk and the pacing of the show. I assume he had a lot to do with that. Creatively, he had some input, whatever. One thing I will say is that I honestly admire the fact that they got ahead of it before the shows this weekend in Chicago. They were in Chicago on Wednesday as well for Dynamite. But I think they were in the United Center. I know for a fact they were at the United Center last night for Collision, looking at the graphic right here in front of me. And then again tonight for All Out. I think they did the right thing. And not only letting go of CM Punk overall, and again, there's a lot to say about it, but not only terminating his contracts, because I guess he had two, a performer contract and an employee contract. That's another discussion for a different day, I suppose. But also doing it when they did. Because, honestly, I don't know if they would have hijacked the crowd, or the crowd would have hijacked the show with CM Punk chants during the show. They really didn't. Watching Collision last night, unless there were chants that they, just got rid of in audio. I mean, it was a live show. It wasn't a post-production show. If there were a chance and they quieted them down, that was possible. They saved the chance for the end of the show when the fucking Young Bucks came out, making their Collision debut of all nights on the same day that Punk gets cut from AEW, which was pretty much Punk's show up until he got fired. That was expected. But beyond that, it's not like the crowd shit all over the show. They still ended up having a good time with the show. They were a lively crowd throughout the night. It was a pretty good show overall, selling me on All Out for tomorrow, which is a pretty thrown-together card, obviously. But they didn't hijack the show, and I don't think they're going to hijack the show tonight. And I don't think they should hijack the show. I think the whole hijacking thing, whether it's Punk's fault or not, whether it's in a situation like this where, to me, it is Punk's fault, or in a situation like 10 years ago where it was more so, Punk walked out, but it was kind of the circumstances that WWE put him in that led him to walking out in the first place. I don't think people should hijack the shows and chant for CM Punk, even in that case, from 10 years ago. I thought it was dumb then. I would think it's dumb now. So Tony Khan had said in the pre-tape promo here, again, just kind of get it out of the way here, was that in the 30 years that he's been attending wrestling shows, in the 4 years he's been producing wrestling shows on TNT for AEW, he's never felt threatened for his life and safety the way that he did compared to the incident, than he did in that incident, in that moment when CM Punk and Jack Perry were brawling backstage at All In last Sunday in London at Wembley Stadium. And again, there's been a lot of Punk drama in the last year and a half, but it seemed like this was really the tipping point. I guess it wasn't enough that he embarrassed the company during a press show scrum. I guess it wasn't enough that he brawled with the fucking EVPs in a locker room brawl. And again, this is shit that happens. This is shit that happens in other sports, other organizations, and real life. Maybe not to this extent sometimes, as far as that sort of stuff goes. But especially when you get the boss physically involved when he did not invoke it and really had nothing to do with him. And I'm not defending Tony Khan on the grand scheme of things, because again, he was the one who let it get to this point. But I guess he felt the breaking point for him was that he felt threatened for his life. Now, was his life actually in jeopardy? I wasn't there. I can't say. I can't imagine it was. He might be over-exaggerating. People have said that he said that to avoid a lawsuit. We have no idea. They did specifically say, and Tony Khan did specifically say in this promo, he was terminated with cause, meaning there was a reason for it, in addition to all the other shit that's come out about Punk in the last couple of months. And Tony Khan, to his credit, did give Punk a lot of chances because he's a big star and he's a big part of that promotion. And I'm a Punk guy, but even I can admit they made the right choice here in letting go of CM Punk. And he said he was disappointed. You think Tony Khan wants to let go of his biggest star? I mean, he is. CM Punk is a bigger star than anyone else they have on that roster. He's done very well for them merchandise-wise, ratings-wise, attendance-wise. Is he that big of a difference maker where the company's going to be dead without him? No, of course not. No, any one person leaving that company would kill AEW. Even the Elite would kill the morale probably backstage. Punk being gone might help the morale, unfortunately. I mean, it seems like a lot of that locker room does not like CM Punk. He has his fair share of supporters, I'm sure, and FTR and other people that he helped get on Collision. But beyond that, it seems like Punk, based on how he acted it all in, even on the show itself and on social media, knew his days were numbered and that he was probably on his way out after that incident. I mean, he should be embarrassed. He should be regretting those actions. I mean, it's hard to accept an apology. He hasn't publicly apologized to like the fans per se, but he did do that interview with ESPN a couple of months ago saying he did regret what he did during that all-out press show scrum. And probably the brawl as well. I don't remember if he touched upon that really, but and that was a whole other incident, of course. But then he came back and put Tony Khan in the exact same situation by creating drama, starting fights. I mean, you can't do that shit. Doesn't matter how big of a star you are. So I've already spoken more about it than I was planning to, but I just wanted to address that. I thought it was a great thing that Tony Khan actually addressed it, because it seems like, specifically with the post-show press conferences, and I've been to a few of them, specifically for Ring of Honor with him there, not the AEW ones, but like he'll dance around certain subjects, answer absolutely nothing. He's not going to be, I mean, people have even said, oh, he's too honest, he's sharing too much. It's like, what fucking universe are you living in? Where have you been for the last couple of years where he denies everything, ignores everything? And I understand that from a company standpoint, but at a certain point, you have to be transparent with your audience that's probably aware of what's going on. And he did that at the post-show press scrum at All In last week. And before anyone could even ask about it, he did address and confirm that the Punk Perry backstage incident happened, which is stuff that he has not done before. Otherwise, he would typically ignore it. I know lawsuits are involved and NDAs and bullshit like that. At a certain point, we're probably going to find out Punk's side of the story. Whether it's true or not, there's one side, the other side, and then the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I'm sure we'll hear from Punk at some point. It might be soon. It might be never. We don't know. Even the WWE stuff, we heard from Punk on that many, many, many months later. So it might be a long time before we hear from Punk on this. I would be very surprised if we never heard Punk's side of the story. We already kind of had through other... We kind of already have heard from Punk in certain respects about this story and the incident and the drama and the travel issues he had and irrelevant bullshit like that. But anyway, so if you were expecting Punk, we did not get him on the show. We will not get him at All Out tonight. We are not getting Punk, period, going forward. He is gone. He has banned himself from Collision. Not his own decision. It was Tony Khan's decision. They kind of made the collective decision. They brought in outside legal advisement, and they all kind of made the unanimous decision, this guy's got to go. And I hate that it got to this point, because I love Punk's run at AEW overall, at least from an on-air standpoint. I thought he had great matches, feuds, promos, but it got to a point where, and they were put in a position, the officials, that is, specifically Tony Khan, where they had really no other logical choice. If they wanted to avoid their company further embarrassment and other people getting hurt or life-threatening injuries, again, I don't know if I'd go that far personally, but people saying that he got lunged at, Tony Khan did, by Punk. I guess, apparently that was from a neutral source. There's so much more to break down about this, and I'll save it for a later video, but wanted to discuss that here because it was relevant, because Tony Khan did bring it up at the beginning of the show. The actual show started in the ring with Tony Schiavone and Ricky Starks and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So we heard on Twitter from Tony Khan a couple days ago that Ricky was calling out Starks for a strap match at All Out. He was accepting his challenge, and that it would probably be the Dragon and Ricky Starks at the pay-per-view. Ricky Starks signed the contract, but he did not read the fine print. Instead, it was not Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, it was the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, making his return to AEW television for the first time, I think, since Forbidden Door, to answer the call and step up and face Starks at All Out tonight in a strap match. He was in babyface mode. He was wearing his Blackpool Combat Club jacket, so I don't know if he's a babyface just for this one match, because Starks is a heel, or he'll be a babyface going forward. I mean, it's weird. He's aligned with the Blackpool Combat Club when it's convenient, and other times he's like completely disassociated from them. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Danielson. We'll find out after All Out tonight. But I thought this was a great segment. Starks cut a very passionate promo. There's got to be a lot of truth to it as far as how frustrated he was and the shit going on right now. He's affected by it. He was probably going to get the pay-per-view main event tonight. He might still get the pay-per-view main event. But without anything at stake and no real bad blood between Starks and Danielson, it should be a great match. There's no real reason for that to be the main event. Honestly, as silly as it sounds, and I've said this elsewhere before, it probably should be Moxley and Cassidy in the main event tonight for the International Championship. That feels like the stakes are higher. They have a longer feud going. It should have happened 2 years ago. It didn't. It's happening now. The championship's on the line. A championship Cassidy's held for almost a year now. It makes sense for that to be the main event, in my opinion. And we'll find out, I guess, at All Out tonight. But I thought this was a great segment. Steamboat was awesome. Starks was great. Danielson getting a great reaction for his first appearance back in a few months. Him being back now of all times, and it seemed like All Out, not All Out, but the Wrestle Dream show they announced last week, they're doing it, I think, on October 1st, almost exactly in 1 month in Seattle. That's his home state, obviously. There was a report out, I think from Meltzer, saying that it would be a photo finish if he was cleared in time for that show. Well, it seems like he's cleared already, a month early. He's actually already cleared, and they, break glass in case of emergency. Bryan Danielson being brought back in light of CM Punk's departure. So perfect timing, I guess. Not that it completely fills the void that Punk leaves behind. Hopefully he can kind of be the same star on the level of Punk was on Collision, so we'll see. But I thought this was a great segment to start the show. We had an AEW World Trios Championship defense from the newly crowned champions, the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, with their new belts that we saw on Wednesday's Dynamite, defending against Daniel Garcia, Daddy Magic Matt Bernard, and Cool Hand Angelo Parker. I just hate the dumb nicknames. I think Jericho appreciates his society. It's safe to say it's officially dead, so I'm not calling them that anymore. I think that the group is indeed dead. The match was fine. It was a fine first title defense for the popular champions who were very over here in front of the Chicago crowd. Garcia, Bernard, and Parker taking the loss. The match was what it was. Following that, we had Aussie Open in action, picking up a win in tag team action over Nick Wayne and Commander. Now, AEW does this weird shit sometimes, and other people may not complain. I'm going to be that guy and complain. Why are we getting fucking Nick Wayne and Commander as a tag team? This was never explained. Maybe it was explained on X or on fucking YouTube or something, or on their Control Center shows that I don't watch. I don't know. There was no reason for Nick Wayne and Commander to be teaming. He teamed on Friday, Nick Wayne did, with fucking El Hijo del Vikingo, who was great, and they made for a fun team, but it's not even like that win prepared them to, for this match against Aussie Open. It wasn't even the same team. Nick Wayne had a different partner here. This match only existed, one, to set up the post-match segment with Wayne and Darby Allin, which I'll get to in a second, and that was a very good segment. And also give Aussie Open a win coming off their loss of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles a week ago at All In. But they could have been two separate things. Aussie Open could have beaten another team, probably on Rampage. If they weren't going to win that Battle Royal last week or last night on Friday night, there's been so much fucking wrestling lately. If they weren't going to win it, they probably shouldn't have been in it. But they could have beaten a team on that show. And then you didn't even really need the match, because Darby Allin came out anyway. He was pissed, or Nick Wayne was pissed at him. Why did you forgive A.R. Fox for almost killing me a couple weeks ago? I mean, he forgave him so quickly and easily, and I thought that was dumb. But Darby Allin did say here that before Nick Wayne's dad, Buddy, passed away, he and Darby were not on good terms, and Darby did not speak to them, Nick Wayne's mom, Nick Wayne's dad, or Nick himself for like 3 years before his passing, and he regrets that. So he doesn't want that same thing to happen between him and AR Fox. He doesn't want to live with any regrets. That made sense, actually. I appreciated they took the time to explain that. That brought out Christian Cage, who mentioned Nick Wayne's mom, among other things. He's, not him, but Luchasaurus is defending the TNT Championship tonight against Darby Allin at All Out. This didn't really do anything to make me more excited for that match, but Cage is just fucking awesome. Christian Cage is great. He is a national treasure on these shows, and I love the promos. So, that was great stuff. Christian is just, he's not the actual TNT champion. He said that you'll never see him pretending to be something that he's not. And then he's out there with the TNT championship. Amazing. We had Dennis Rodman out next. And they had a lot of backstage interviews, by the way. They had a lot of, hype for All Out. They had Shane Taylor cutting a promo, or a video package for him. Samoa Joe cutting a promo. A lot of All Out hype. We heard from, who was the Outcasts as well, had their 6-woman tag team match on the show. They had a lot of backstage promos at one point, but we also heard from Dennis Rodman in the fucking ring. So, Dennis Rodman, we have not seen in wrestling probably since the WCW days in the early 2000s. Probably in 2000. Was that not the year 99, 2000? I think it might have been 99, either way, or 98, I don't fucking remember. But Dennis Rodman back here in the United Center, obviously a former Chicago Bull. It was fitting. He was in the area anyway. People tweeting a day or two ago when they announced this, oh, what the fuck is Dennis Rodman doing on Collision? Like, this is so random. Yeah, it's random, and I'm not saying I was, like, a big fan of it, but, like, he was in the area anyway for StarCast. He was at StarCast. So it's like, if he's in the area, then why the fuck not use him? I mean, he's just in the corner. He's not wrestling a match. But what ended up happening was he's going to be in the corner at All Out for the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. We got another appearance from the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn on the show, saving Dennis Rodman from Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. So Jarrett and Rodman were kind of going back and forth as part of their history in the NWO and their history in WCW, blah, blah, blah. It was actually a pretty funny segment. It felt like a dark match segment. I'm like, why the fuck is this happening? But it made sense once the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn came out. We're getting another trios title match coming up in the show tonight. So that's why that existed. We had the Outcasts that I mentioned before, Tony Storm, Saraya, and Ruby Soho, taking on and defeating the trio of Chris Statlander, the TBS champion, Kuroshita, and Brett Baker. Solid match here. I was really hoping coming out of All In, the Outcasts were indeed over. And not over as far as like, oh, the crowd likes him. No, over as far as the feud is, the faction is finished. Because it sucks. The stable sucks. They're trying with it. I like all three women. I like Saraya. I like Storm. I like Soho. The group sucks. It just has never really clicked. And Saraya flat out beat the shit out of Tony Storm for accidentally hitting Soraya's family at the pay-per-view, and then pinned her to win the championship. She was not the champion Sheeta was. Sheeta was not pinned. But I just thought it was weird they were back to teaming here like there was no issue. They did have some communication issues, but they won the match, and I just thought it was strange. So it seems like they're taking their time with the split, which I'm not a fan of. Just get right the fuck to it. No one gives a shit about the group. Don't waste time with it. Just get right to it. But Soho picked up the win here by pinning Britt Baker following the spray paint finish, which is also awful. That finish is terrible. Soho challenges Statlander tonight. So it made sense to give them the win. I get that. But the Outcasts need to be fucking broken up. I mean, the group sucks, and Saraya can go off and do her own thing. She's not a babyface. She was acting like a heel in the pre-match interview backstage and during the match. So it's not like she's being outed from her own group or whatever. Tony Storm is still doing the Marilyn Monroe thing, and she's doing an excellent job at it. So this group does not need to exist anymore. We had Powerhouse Hobbs have a quick squash against the dude named GPA. Yeah, his fucking name was GPA. Like, oh, and then I think it was Kevin Kelly who made the joke. Oh, it's going to be 0-0 if Hobbs has his way or whatever it was. What a dumb name. GPA, really? Thank God Hobbs killed him in a matter of seconds. Not even minutes, seconds. They rang the bell, he hit one spine buster, and it was over in probably 4 or 5 seconds. Thank fucking God. Hobbs then brawled with Miro on the stage afterward to hype up their match for All Out tonight, so pretty simple stuff there. And then our main event, Jay White and Dax Harwood going one-on-one. We have not gotten a Dax Harwood singles match in a while, so that was a nice treat. They got a ton of time here. Even without Punk around, the show was paced still pretty well. I saw some people say, oh, it felt like a Dynamite. I mean, the fucking Buck showed up at the end, which was stupid, but it made sense with what they did. I get that part of it. But still, I thought they did a good job of giving them time here. They had a really good match, as well wrestled as you would expect. It took not one, but two Blade Runners to put down Dax Harwood, one on the outside and one on the inside. Jay White picking up the victory, as he should have. FTR were outnumbered here, and then the Bucks making the save for FTR afterward, making me wonder if Punk was still around and he was on this show. I mean, they booked this match on Wednesday. I don't think they expected Punk to be back in time for Saturday. I'm just thinking it made sense for the Bucks to come out here, but if Punk was around and on the show, would they have still done that? Probably not. They probably would not have wanted to be in the same building together. I had seen the same thing from one of the outlets about the Elite and Punk were supposed to have a sit-down before All In, and the Elite canceled it. That's a whole other issue. Again, we'll talk about more about the Punk stuff a little bit later on in the week in Wrestle Rant Radio. I'll probably put a clip up or the entire clip up here on the channel soon after. But anyway, good match, good way to close out the show, and that was Collision for September 2nd, 2023. Pretty straightforward show. I enjoyed the show. I thought it peaked with the opening segment. They set up one more match for the show tonight, that being the Trios title match. They also set up a women's match. I legitimately do not remember what it was. I think it's Diamante. Oh, I do actually. I think it's Athena, Diamante, and Mercedes Martinez, not Monet, in 6-woman tag team action against Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and I don't remember their partner, but it's a 6-woman tag team match on the All Out 0 hour pre-show. And they're going to be doing that Trios title match as well on the pre-show. And I think another segment that I don't remember what it was. I don't think it's a match. I think they announced the segment for the pre-show. Anyway, this was a fun show. I actually enjoyed the show, even in light of the Punk stuff, and that kind of put a downer on the entire show for me. I'm a Punk guy. I want to see him on the show, but listen, they had to do what they had to do. They had to get rid of fucking CM Punk. There was no question about that. And I'll talk more about it a little bit later on in the week, but beyond the Punk stuff, this was a fun show. Danielson being back made this an eventful episode. Very good main event. Really nothing worth seeking out beyond, or rather before All Out tonight. That's coming up in mere hours as I record right now. Wanted to get this in before the pay-per-view because I could not do a show last week. I was away camping, and All In also fucking happened at like 1 o'clock that day, so there was no point in doing a Collision review. But we should be back to a normal schedule going forward with the Collision audio reviews here on the channel every Sunday. So thank you guys for tuning in right before All Out tonight. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including hitting the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. Have an awesome one, guys. Enjoy All Out tonight. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.